This is The Litter Box, a Detroit Lions podcast with your hosts, Chet West and Bill Patterson.
Lions Litter Box listeners, welcome back. We are back with another episode of The Litter Box, a Detroit Lions podcast. Thought we would keep everybody abreast of current events here in the offseason with the draft rapidly approaching in a couple months. We have a few things, some housekeeping items coming up. We're going to talk a little bit about Rod Wood's retirement. We're going to talk about Mike Disner being the next guy up. Decker coming back. Some injury news on Kirby Joseph, Monty, and the plight with Monty as a running back number 2. But first, I want to get into a term here that Bill taught us about an episode or two ago, and I've already forgot the definition, tolling, and why that matters with Aleem McNeil and Paschal. Bill, tell us what's going on with tolling.
So, Chet and listeners, the word of the day is NFL contract tolling. That's T-O-L-L-I-N-G. It's a mechanism that pauses a player's contract, delaying the expiration by 1 year. Typically, or usually when a player is in the final year of their deal, spends the season on the reserve or physically unable to perform, the PUP list, or the non-football injury NFI list. So basically, it behaves just like a medical red shirt. And why this is significant, Chet, and why I think we might need to give Brad Holmes a few bouquets on this, is because essentially Levi Onwuzurike and Josh Paschal are now Detroit Lions opposed to being unrestricted free agents because of being on the PUP or the NFI list. And so it was just a matter of paperwork, and now the Lions have depth, which I'm going to let you argue the virtue.
So that means they bought a year with these two guys.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Now, they're going to have to renegotiate and probably put them on incentive-laden contracts. Both of them have been historically hurt their entire careers. However, Chet, we're looking at a few key things outside of this. One, this gives defensive tackle an edge depth, which is nothing more, nothing less. And with Taylor Decker saying that he does not want to retire, provided the Lions medical staff clears him and that all parties agree that he's good to go, I think this changes the Lions draft strategy greatly, Chet. Opposed to needing a tackle potentially in the first round,
sure,
or maybe even the second round, the tackle might be able to be pushed on down the line, and defensive tackle probably isn't as big of a priority. Yeah. I still think edge is, but their positions might creep up there, like center, safety, some others on,
Sure.
In the stratosphere. And
we have a lot of needs. We still have a lot of needs.
A lot of needs. And
it's nice to know a couple of them have been filled due to some contract hijinks.
Yeah, basically. And again, if we get the best Levi Onwuzurike, which is the one that was signed, to the extension or the 1 year contract after 2024, that's a great piece to have. And if Josh Paschal can ever emerge healthy, again,
yes.
Another nice piece. Yeah. Going forward on that. While we stay on injury news.
Yeah.
Brad Holmes and the Danimal, MCDC, both spoke at Indianapolis this week where they're down for the NFL Draft Combine.
Yep.
And the injury news on Joseph Kirby, that is, starting free safety, is murky to say.
Just can't seem to get a good update. Nobody's get just not a good update. It's just been. It seems to be going more the negative route.
Yes.
As to whether he'll be able to ever play again at this point.
So my question to you is, does this sound like, I know we're reading tea leaves and we're reading between lines, we're making hypotheses here. Is it like a degenerative issue with his knee, that it's bone on bone or
it does
tendons
like
that won't heal?
Yes.
Okay.
It sounds like it's just been beat up so much to this point. And there may be just, he may have some weakness in there in that joint that's just never coming back to the point where he can perform on it. But it does sound like I believe it's the knee, if I'm not mistaken.
It's the knee.
With Kirby. And it's I can't remember if it's the left knee or the right knee, but it is quite beat up. And they said he's torn just about everything in there, and it's not healing. It's not coming back to a healed state. So Kirby's probably going to struggle with his walking even in the future. Who knows? It doesn't sound like it can take much of a pounding. I don't have half my meniscus and it's not comfortable. The bone on bone can get a little can get quite frustrating and flare up. Now, I'm a fat man who tears his ligaments getting up off the couch. I'm not tearing my ligaments running, a 4.40 and chasing down wide receivers. So I don't need my knee that much just to get me from A to B, He needs to run all over, cut, stick his foot in the ground. I just don't think his knee is up to handling that. We'll see what happens. We won't give up on him. I certainly don't want him because he's a great player, and I'm very sad if it ends his career.
Well, likewise, and just on behalf of the listeners and on behalf of your co-host, we thank you for playing hurt, by the way.
Yes. Yeah, play hurt, guys.
No,
you don't have an excuse. You're not Kirby Joseph.
You, Chet, are playing hurt.
You're talking about me.
Yes.
You're playing hurt. It's hard to get into the stool and bend my knee for the 20 to 30 minutes it takes, Bill. It's very difficult, but I do some exercises to make sure I can sit properly for extended periods of time. It's a rough life. Rod Wood. Let's talk about Rod Wood. What does Rod Wood bring to the table?
Well, he retires, and it's kind of an interesting case. He was the Ford family's accountant, and he was promoted into this role. When he took the job, his introductory press conference, which I rewatched just to share with you and the listeners, he said he was not a football guy. He knew nothing about football and wouldn't intervene whatsoever. And oddly enough, his first football move was chasing down Megatron in the hallways of Allen Park after Megatron decided to retire and say that he owed part of his signing bonus back, which then...
As accountants do. I mean, he's a bean counter, right?
He caused a divorce in a rift between Megatron, Calvin Johnson, and the franchise, which has since been mended, and they paid him what was owed. But it was an ugly situation that didn't need to be there, and he clearly was talking out of both sides of his mouth. The other memory I have is Rod Wood, multiple recent drafts, fist bumping and high-fiving MCDC and Brad Holmes in the draft room, which is completely the opposite of as you said, a CFO, accountant, bean counter.
Yeah.
And so he grew into the role. I will have to give Sheila Fordham credit on this, that she did promote a guy that was really great. In terms of assisting the Lions in making that the successful franchise they are today, and has turned Allen Park into, if you read these NFL player representative and union reports, it's one of the best facilities, both practice, indoor, outdoor, food, weight room, nutrition, medical staff in the NFL. And a lot of that was Rod Wood's design and doing with Sheila's approval. Next man up is the capologist and the guy that's basically been running the salary cap, which is Mike Disner.
So I had a funny joke about this, okay? I just want to tell you, when we got into Disner, I was going to be like, we went from an accountant. I was like, what is Disner, an economist? He is. He earned a degree in economics from Williams College, where he played baseball.
I love it. I did not know that. He did interview for the Atlanta Falcons president and GM job that went to Matt Ryan, and then Matt Ryan hired the Bears assistant GM, which is kind of an odd one because Mike Disner's infinitely more qualified than either of those individuals, but that's probably why the Falcons are the Falcons, and I hope that Mike Disner gets his fair crack at this. In an interesting note, the Lions did hire a search firm for their next president, which
interesting,
is a little bizarre to me, given that the guy that potentially should be the successor could be there in the building or could be in NFL circles. A name to also watch for would be Chris Spielman's brother, Rick, former general manager of the Minnesota Vikings, who has been consulting and sitting on the sidelines. So
Disner has apparently got a very good reputation around the league.
Really good reputation.
He's kind of like a salary cap guy. And I know that, the Falcons requested an interview for president of football operations, not but a couple months back. So he's wanted by others.
Well, and this won't be the first time the Falcons make a really curious choice on things. Remember that Bill Belichick was their first choice, and they were courting him hot and heavy and decided at the end of the day, no, Raheem Morris is our guy. So we'll see if, I don't know, Arthur Blank, he is not. That's the Falcons owner. To listeners that might not be familiar, he of Home Depot fame and CEO, principal shareholder. He hasn't been the same since that Super Bowl collapse against the Patriots.
Yeah. So we've covered the front office, Bill. We've covered the front office. Let's get into the players a little bit. What do you think?
Well, big news yesterday. Taylor Decker just said that he is willing to give it another go. My question to you, Chet, is where does this sit with you? Are you excited? Are you happy?
Well,
are you frustrated?
I already read something about this the other day that Decker is willing to give it a go. I read something yesterday about this. Yes, Decker's willing to give it a go. However, even Brad Holmes was saying, like, we know his current condition. We know he's getting up there. His health is not a friend to him at this juncture. So they know they have to have another option there. And it sounds like they are going to concentrate on finding another option there to at least spell Decker when necessary. It could be a draft pick. I mean, I don't know how excited Lions fans are going to be if they take a left tackle in the draft. We have other needs. Everybody wants to see some flashy edge rusher, although there are a couple on the market that we could go after there. But it does sound like they know that, yes, he's coming back. This is great. This is not a permanent option. We're not putting all our eggs in that basket. That's all you can really ask for. But I do look at all the needs on this team. Anybody coming back helps because it trims down what we have to go after. Brad Holmes needs to step up and figure this thing out. This is going to be where we're going to find out. Rubber hitting the road for Brad Holmes. Can he make the magic? He's drafted fairly well. Free agent signings hit and miss. I need to see Brad Holmes put the players on the field that need to be out there for us to be a championship team next year. We can't blow Amon-Ra, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jared Goff, everybody else. We can't blow Hutch. We can't blow these guys and their time with the team and not get at least a Super Bowl appearance out of it. And so he needs to figure out how to put a complete team out on the field, which means filling a lot of holes. It looks like he's still going after a left tackle. What are your thoughts?
I agree with you wholeheartedly. It gives depth. It's basically the same thing as the Levi.
It's like a depth piece, right? At this point, like Decker's become a depth piece at left tackle, but I can't see him the overall answer at this point.
The thing is, though,
because of health.
But he played a lot last year, every game.
He did.
And
he was out 2 games, I think. He missed 2. Yeah.
He didn't practice at all. And if his shoulder heals, he wasn't one of the problems on the offensive line last year. Given that Sewell and everybody else struggled or was injured at times, including Decker, I think he's a good depth piece coming back. And
I think in the game or 2 he was out, it was evident. Like
completely
we knew. And it was toward the end of the season, it wasn't working out. But like I said, do we have other problems along that line when he's in there that are, he's not one of the major problems, in my opinion.
Let's talk about solutions.
Okay.
David Montgomery apparently had a very tense or terse conversation with management in his exit interview.
Yeah.
Apparently, he felt a little bit more revitalized with the hiring of one Drew Petzing and utilization. But apparently, he and Brad Holmes and his agent have been in conversations this week.
Yes.
And if they're in conversations, that leads me to believe that a trade is about to happen.
He signed a 2-year extension. Okay. And next year would have been the first year of that extension. Yet, it sounds like he's disgruntled. It sounds like he doesn't feel like he's going to get enough opportunities. Petzing says it's going to be the balance between him and Gibbs. What do you think? I mean, is this just posturing to make sure he gets his time on the field, or do you actually think we got a trade coming? I'd like to see him use him to trade up in the draft, personally.
I think there's going to be a trade coming, and I think that you and listeners probably need to brace themselves. I mean, I think if he gets you a 5th-round pick, I think that's probably fair or equitable.
Yeah, I'm worried he's not better than a 4th at this point.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. And so then that changes again the landscape. Let's just go through. The Lions currently have 7 picks. Let's say this goes to 8. If they get an additional pick on that.
Sure.
I imagine a running back would be a late pick. I think a tight end will be a late pick. I think there'll be a safety as a late pick. I think there'll be a cornerback as a late pick. And so your early picks are probably going to be left tackle, edge, and best available, wherever that might be. Pray it's not wide receiver.
I still think they're going to get a free agent edge. I think they're going to get one of these edge guys. There's a couple of them available.
I hope they do.
I don't know that that's going to be a draft. I think the draft will center around line.
So we did have a question from a loyal listener.
Okay.
The new league date starts March 11th. So listeners know that Chet and I will be back with you talking about salary cap and reposition that, meaning they're going to have to restructure deals because currently they're over the cap.
Okay.
And there's a lot that could go to assist that. Restructuring Jared Goff, restructuring Amon-Ra St. Brown, restructuring Hutch, is somebody like Derek Barnes a cap casualty? Is Monty a trade bait? Is JMO, which leads me to loyal listener Andy Roberts, has a question.
Okay.
Brad Holmes loves his guys, says Andy.
Yep. Okay.
What do you two, meaning you and I, think are the odds that he re-signs everybody? Meaning he extends Gibbs, he extends Jack Campbell, he extends Branch on down the line. And what are your thoughts and opinions on that if that does happen?
Well, the timing of it is difficult, staying under the cap, as we just said a minute ago about the cap. Like you've got all these guys came into the team within a year or two of each other, and they're all going to be getting big contracts. I don't know that he can keep everybody. There's going to be a couple guys that aren't going to make it. Things like health with Brian Branch would be something to keep an eye on to see what a driver for his contract. I don't think he'll keep them all, but I do feel like he's right in thinking like these are their guys. These are guys that they evaluated, they trusted. They do seem to have this desire to keep their guys around. I just don't think they'll be able to keep them all.
No, they won't. And I guess if we had to go hierarchy on that, 1 through 4, they all came from the same draft. And essentially this is the bounty from the
So you're looking at Branch, Laporta,
Campbell,
and who's
Gibbs.
the fourth? And Gibbs. I think, see, now you're wading into how much and for how long. I mean, Gibbs would be my number 1. He's number 1 in the hierarchy.
Okay.
Right?
So our loyal listener and I both agreed on this. He would be my 4.
He's your 4, so he's your last.
Well, you want, for a running back in the NFL,
they have a short shelf life.
You want their first 2 to 2,000 carries or 1,000 carries or touches, whatever you want to say.
Sure.
You don't want to pay for what happened those first 1,000 carries. So if they extended him, it would be like a franchise tag for a year if he was in good health and still performing well. Laporta's coming off back surgery. Branch is coming off a complete and total.
Both he and Laporta have health issues, and a back for a tight end isn't the greatest thing on the face.
Torn Achilles.
Yeah.
So at this point, the quarterback of the defense is Campbell, even though I think that outside of running back is probably the easiest position to replace. He's the one that I think is the most heart and soul, and I also think he'd be the least cost prohibitive to re-sign or extend.
If Campbell can have a season, this coming season, like he just had, come out and have anything close to this past season in the coming season, I think they're going to extend him. He's probably the easiest to make a decision on because he'll be the cheapest, and he's at a position where we don't have great linebackers. Like we kind of need Jack Campbell right now.
Yes.
Your other options are like Derek Barnes and I don't know who else are you putting out there?
I mean, Rodriguez.
I mean,
no. He's an unrestricted free agent.
He's an unrestricted free agent. He's gone.
Anzalone. Yeah. So
Anzalone, they're balking at him. They're not jumping to re-sign him. I mean, I think Campbell's probably your best shot. I would say Gibbs is like from a talent aspect, would be the tier 1. I thought you were kind of asking about that. I didn't think you were asking about who would you resign. So I think Campbell's probably 1, but I would put Gibbs at like 2. I'd give him like a 2-year deal or something if he'd take it, but he may get something bigger from somebody else. If that's the case, I don't know. I don't like these long-term deals. But then again, in football, nothing's guaranteed past a certain amount. And then Laporta. Love Laporta, but back injuries for a tight end. You're a blocker, receiver. I don't know how he's going to come back from that.
Yeah. I mean, I would go tier 1. I think we're in agreement on Campbell. And then tier 2 would be if Branch and or Laporta can come back from injury to anything resembling their former selves, then.
Those are bad injuries, though.
Yeah.
AC or Achilles and back.
And then the Lions are unlike, our friends down in Dallas, the Cowboys that love to franchise players. Lions rarely do it. And I think it would be a good move potentially. If Gibbs is still efficient, you franchise him once.
I wonder if that's like a locker room harmony thing. They don't want the grumpy franchised guy hanging around. You think?
Well, you think about the franchises that do it, though, and there's never harmony. I mean, look what the Commanders did with Kirk Cousins. I mean, they greatly overpaid him by just not signing him when they should have, partially because of stubbornness of ownership and management for the fact that they couldn't believe that they got the RG3 pick wrong and that Cousins was the guy. And then the Cowboys do it seemingly more often than almost any other team. And yet name another team in the NFL that has more players going to the press than the Cowboys demanding new contracts.
Sure.
I mean, Brandon Aubrey today was spouting
I didn't
off.
see that. Oh,
yeah.
gosh.
He wants more involvement.
Yeah.
So anyway, be thankful that's not us. Other guy that was a distant conversation, is JMO someone that we would have trade bait with or someone that you'd be willing to part with? And my short answer was...
What can you get for him, do you think? I mean, he's got a huge contract right now.
Well, they extended him, so he's actually underpaid for his value.
Really? I thought he got a pretty big deal.
He did, but he's not Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. He's not like a crazy.
He's also nowhere near them in ability.
I know, but they're not paying him like a top 10 receiver. And
you want to talk about a guy that vanished this past season? He was nowhere to be found for half the season. I don't feel like he was that great. Well, second half of that season,
let's dive into his numbers next episode.
Sure. Okay,
we'll give you time to prep on that. I disagree because the games. Amon-Ra did not have his best season. They're two vastly different receivers, and we still need somebody to take the top off.
Yeah.
I will agree with you that under Johnny Moe's offense, they didn't know how to utilize JMO whatsoever.
And that could have been the problem. Maybe he just didn't have the consistency throughout the season to get the mojo going.
Oh, and speaking of, talk about a lucky or unlucky penny, Johnny Moe is now the passing game coordinator with your Denver Broncos.
He's right back where he came from.
Anyhow, on that note, let's leave you. March 11th is a big date for the NFL season starting. If any significant retirements, injury news, restructuring of contracts, listen here, loyal Lions Litterbox listeners, will break it down for you.
Sounds good, Bill.
Go Lions.
Go Lions.